This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Bat-Fans. And we'll get to our new name later because it is a new year. We're back from our winter break. It is 2020, a new decade. And as our name from last year suggested, we are still here. So we're moving on forward. My name is Tim, and joining me, as always, is Dane. Dane, it's good to be back.
It is good to be back. A lot to talk about. The Rise of Skywalker. Or Tros, as I like to call it, Watchmen, and of course, the Mandalorian. So we got a lot to talk about.
Oh yes,
let's do all of the Suicide Squad stuff and the Batman stuff. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and 2019 ended with a bang, I will say, with all the stuff you just mentioned about what was on TV and the movie front. And yeah, so it was a good way to end what was a pretty good year of a lot of great nerdy and geeky content that we had to consume for 2019. So yeah, we're going to be playing catch up of what we've been up to since our break and consuming all that great content and what we thought of it. So it should be a fun one. But as always, we can't start this episode and this decade, this new year, without giving our show a new name. And right. As always...
Can I give you the name that I was thinking about?
Sure, because I was just going to say, We always say in our last episode of the year, that's how we're going to come back with a new name. We'll try to come up with one. And then we never do when we start recording. It's always something that we make up just like minutes before we record or actually when we're recording. So It's going to be no different for 2020.
Yeah, so my name that I came up with was Tim, a former GameStop employee. Podcast.
See, now, why did you just choose GameStop? Because I had Toys R Us too.
Yeah, but GameStop is more of a mystery to me. You know, I didn't really go to Toys R Us when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. But I did go to GameStop a lot. So, okay. Yeah, that's why I picked GameStop. So Tim, GameStop employee. Former GameStop employee.
It's been a while since we've had or used one of our actual names for the name, or one of our personal names for the name of the show. There was Timmy Time and the Bat-Fans Revolution. I think that was one of our early ones.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So we're bringing the personal names back. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
Next time we'll have to do one of your early jobs for 2021.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So Dane, the former... What was my first job? I worked on a farm, so that can go a flower farm. So that can go a Dane, the former flower employee,
or Dane, the former flower farmer.
Flower farmer, great, yeah. So we got our name. Yeah, we got our name for this this year, and next year. Sort it out.
Yeah, we're planning ahead. See, 2020 is already off to a great productive start.
It is.
So yes, welcome to episode 192 of Tim, former GameStop employee. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Tim, former GameStop employee. Right.
All right, so we are settled. And as always, it's another year, and we kick it off with another round of our Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises. See, we're rusty being gone for so long. Our Dark Knight
we got to shake
Rises.
it all off.
Yeah. Dark Knight Rises minute by minute commentary. And we're ended on a milestone minute on our last episode, and we're kicking off a milestone minute. We're at the 2 hour and 20 minute mark, or the 140 minute mark. So we're getting closer. So close, but yet so far. But we'll see how much of a dent we make in it for 2020. We'll probably get really close to the end by the time the year's over. And 2021 is probably when we'll finish it. So
yeah, I think this is my prediction for 2020. We are going to get to the scene where where Alfred gets to the restaurant in Italy.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, wait, is it France or Italy?
The blue is Italy.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to get to that scene by the end of this year.
Before they do the nod or pre-nod?
Pre-nod, like when Alfred is sitting down.
All right, we'll see if your prediction comes true then.
Yeah. Where do you think we're going to get?
I say we're going to be a little before that. My prediction will be the funeral scene.
Okay.
Right before Alfred starts crying.
And you know what? Let me change that then. I think we are going to end this year on the funeral scene, but when they take the thing off of the Batman statue.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So we got our picks in. No, we should have done this from the get-go.
Yeah.
Pick what scene we're going to end the year on.
So then we waited till the end.
I know. Or potentially last year or second to last year. So
yeah.
Well, we'll know what to do for future commentary movies.
Right.
All right. So as always, get your VHS player, your DVD player, your Betamax tape, your Laserdisc, your I was gonna say 4K, but it's gonna be a couple of years down the line because you never know. With 8K already getting talked about for TVs, but I meant to say HD DVD players because that really is dead and gone. Yeah. And your Blockbuster membership card, your Netflix physical media, and before I get to the greatest format ever, am I forget anything, Dane?
Beta.
I got beta, so I think we're covered.
DVD, right? Yeah.
So, I guess all that's left is to say, grab your VHS to DVD converted copy. Even in 2020, that is still the format to be beaten.
Right.
Perfect way to watch any movie.
Yeah, especially with those IMAX cameras, you know. It really brings out the quality. I guess you could say.
See, the way to watch a movie is on an IMAX screen, but with the VHS to DVD converted copy playing on the big IMAX screen.
Of course.
That's where you're going to see all the great picture clarity that you could ever want to see on a movie on a big screen.
Yeah, especially the standard definition,
resolution
or whatever. The square with the lines on the side, the black is on the side.
We got to make that happen now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go ahead and give the countdown. Are you ready, Dane?
I am ready, finally.
And it is 3, 2, 1, play. As we left out on cliffhanger, Talia was going to detonate the bomb, but will it go off?
I don't know. Is Commissioner Gordon gonna get there in time?
She could have detonated if she wasn't monologuing like a typical villain does, but that's the way it goes. Because Gordon does get the blocker down just in time.
Just press the button, you know, and then do the talking after, you know.
I know
Oh,
there's you could still see the agony on the hero's face that you want to make him suffer by seeing Gotham explode. Then you can gloat
yeah.
and say all that dialogue that you want to, as she says, twist the knife even further. Blake and the kids are getting off the school bus on the Gotham Bridge, and I think
Yeah.
that's where we're going to end things.
Yep.
Yes. I
That's
was
that's really smart of Talia to always have a backup, you know, because the clock on that thing is gonna run regardless, right?
Yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
Gotham was about 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of doubt it's exactly 11 minutes that it takes for the bomb to go off in the course of watching the film. Because you know how time flows in film, it's never exactly what they say.
Well, I mean, we have the perfect opportunity to find out.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, we'll know for sure, definitely.
We will find out.
So I guess we'll find out on the 152-minute mark if that ends up being the case. If the bomb hasn't gone off yet, then we know it was Hollywood time playing at work there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, is there a movie that actually sticks to the time?
I'm sure some have come close, but I highly doubt the one that goes off exactly when they say it will.
Yeah. Hmm.
That'd be something to research.
Yeah.
If someone's actually done their homework and researched that and watched movies and timed them when there's a clock going. But anyway, we'll find out in 11 episodes if that is the case. But moving on, we can go into our featured topic, which, as Dane alluded to in the beginning, there was a lot of great stuff that happened while we were on our break. We teased it in our last episode of 2019, and pretty much as all of 2019, as far as what we're looking forward to at the end of the year. We got, as you said, Rise of Skywalker, Mandalorian, Watchmen. It's just great stuff to consume over the course of a few weeks and 2 months almost with these great things if you're a comic book fan and a Star Wars fan. So as you know, we are heavily fans of all that stuff. So it was just a great few weeks getting to consume all of that content. So I don't know, Dane, where do you want to start with? On the TV front, the big one with the movie, or?
You know, I want to start off with something completely different that has nothing to do with what you have listed here.
Okay, bring it on.
And that is Robert Pattinson.
Okay.
All right. I saw the movie The Lighthouse.
Oh yeah, I heard that one's supposed
It
to be pretty strange and trippy.
it's strange, it's trippy, it's scary, and he is great in it. Uh, yeah, we are okay when it comes to who's playing Batman. Let's just say he's a great actor. Uh, Even better than I thought he was. I
Nice.
mean, it's like you don't even recognize him in the Lighthouse. I like in the Lighthouse, his character. I can't even see him as Bruce Wayne, but I'm sure he can do it. Um, and if you're worried that he's the pretty boy from Twilight, forget about that. Forget about that. He's gonna do a really good job. It's all up to the writing, I think.
And that should be a good hint too with Matt Reeves. So
Yeah,
everything seems to be coming together nicely. But I know I've said this when he was first cast, how I haven't seen him in anything.
yeah,
And then there's sites and just people giving recommendations of some of his best roles and what you should check out. But I'm still in the mindset where I think I want to wait and just see him as Batman as my first movie of his that I watched, just to go in clean and not with any expectations of what to expect from him as an actor, and just go in seeing hopefully just a great portrayal, a new portrayal of Bruce Wayne and Batman in that movie. So I think that's still how I'm going to play things. And then if he ends up being as great as we're all hoping would be, then I'll probably go and check out some of his other movies and performances that people have said
yeah.
are really good. But I think it would be cool to go into a Batman movie like that without any preconceived notions of an actor and any other roles that they previously played. So I think that would be cool going into it.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson is a character actor that looks like a model.
Mm.
Is kind of what I'd say. So just almost exactly like Christian Bale,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean, he's a good-looking guy, but he takes on these weird roles that, change his body and his way he talks and stuff like that. So, yeah, we have nothing to worry about on the acting front of the Batman.
Now, I'm still waiting for if that's the actual title of the movie. I mean, I don't know if there's been an official announcement that it is called The Batman, but everyone's referring to it as that. So it's kind of going to be a strange thing if it is called something else. We're just so used to calling it The Batman now that we're probably always going to refer to it as that, even if it is something different. But hopefully it's not, because I think The Batman does make for a good Batman title, especially if you're starting off a new Batman series of films. So I guess we'll still have to wait for that official announcement. But more on that later, because there's some news surrounding the Batman. But getting back to our main
Right.
topics of discussion, let's start off with on the TV front. I'd say we work our way up to the big screen.
Sure.
So let's go with The Mandalorian first, since that was Watchmen was the first series to premiere, but I don't know. Let's go Star Wars, Watchmen, then back to Star Wars. So we'll start with The Mandalorian. Yeah, we've talked about the first few episodes on this podcast before when it first aired, and it ended with 8 episodes. Season 1 is over, and I gotta say, it ended with a bang. This series was fantastic. It was a great first season. It went in directions I couldn't possibly have imagined that it would go to when the series was first announced. So, yeah, it was just amazing. And I can't remember the last episodes we were talking about on the podcast. So I guess we could focus mainly on the last two or the last three. It was the last two that kind of were the ones that were connected with each other that ended the season on. So but we'll go with that one. So what did you think of the last few episodes of The Mandalorian, Dane?
Um. Hmm. So I gotta be honest, and I have to say it was getting to the point where I was like, okay, so where is this story going? I mean, what I wish I mean, what I'm seeing is really good, and I like it, but like, where is it exactly going? Um, what is the story? Is it just a guy going around the galaxy? Is it with a baby Yoda? I mean, is that the thing? So in the last episode, I was glad to finally get where the story was going. So the Mandalorian has to, and it was great to see Pedro Pascal's face, by the way, his Sebastian Shaw moment, right?
I was actually surprised
Except,
they revealed his face so early. I was expecting that would be a theme throughout the course of the whole series, and maybe in the last episode of the whole series we reveal his face. But we got it at the end of season 1, and it was a great moment, though.
yeah. But yeah, I was glad to finally get the story, where the story was going. Is not just a guy doing side quests, helping out the villagers, meeting I forget her name. um, is
On
it Cara Dune?
Tatooine. Oh, Cara Dune. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Cara Dune, right? I Is it just meeting her? Is it going to Tatooine? Is it? I mean, what is the story? Is it outrunning the bounty hunters? But I was glad to finally get in the last episode. It's too bad it was the last episode, but um, yeah. So the Mandalorian has to take Baby Yoda to his people and train him up, right? So I was fine. I was glad to finally get that, and I guess it's a good cliffhanger to season 2. Um, I don't really I I don't really know what they're gonna do with season 2. Is it just gonna be more of the same, where we're going from place to place to place to place, meeting new characters and doing the side quest thing, or is it gonna be more of the story focused on finding Baby Yoda's people?
I think it's going to be a mixture of both, just like this season was. I'm hoping the episode counts a lot longer. Well, not a lot longer, but a little longer than 8 episodes. 10 would be nice. But I think you're going to get a mix of them because I know I've seen some people complain about that where those middle episodes were filler and didn't expand the story as much. But to me, I'm good with that. As long as they're still entertaining stories, that I'm fine with taking a little detour across the main season thread story of the show. And I felt this was a good balance where there was 3 episodes stacked in the middle there where they, like you said, he was just traveling the galaxy, go to different planets, meeting different people, because he was trying to be on the run from the Bounty Hunter Guild and the Empire that were after him once he left the planet Navarro in the 3rd episode. And then we got 3 more episodes where he's traveling the galaxy. And then the last 2, he's back to Navarro and they're wrapping up this first season story arc. So as long as it's nicely balanced like that, I'm totally okay with it because I know filler episodes get a bad connotation with its name, that if it's a filler, it means automatically bad. And I just don't believe that because there's been plenty of series where, like, I think I've used this example before. You could say Batman the Animated Series is all filler episodes. There's no season arc story that the show followed ever. And yet it was still great, amazing episodes. So to me, that's not a bad thing as long as the episodes are still good and are entertaining to you. But yeah, just going back to that main new story plot that's been set up for season 2. I mean, how amazing is that? That's what I loved about it so much because I was expecting season 1 to wrap up the Baby Yoda storyline where he'd get delivered to somebody, the Mandalorian would say goodbye, and season 2 would be something totally different. But no, looks like the main thrust of this series is going to be the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda together, having that father-son relationship. And technically, as the armorer of the Mandalorian said, they're a tribe of 2 now. So technically, Baby Yoda is going to be trained and brought up as a Mandalorian. But the way, as she explained, there's another way to do that where he can find his people and bring him back there. So I just love that whole aspect that now the thrust of possibly this series is the Mandalorian trying to find the homeworld of Yoda species. And there's 2 different ways you can look at it, because when I first saw the episode, that's what I took it as, that he's going to try to find his species and bring him back. But then as other fans were talking about it, and we were talking about it on the latest Star Wars Saga Continues episode, where she could just be referring to the Jedi, where, because as she mentioned, she heard stories about the only type of people who could, move things with their mind are, I believe the exact words were enemy sorcerers, as she referred to them. So when she says bring him back to his people, could be talking about the Jedi. So will the Mandalorian be looking for other Jedi, or will end up leading to him trying to find his species? So I think there's going to be a mixture of both there too, which could be pretty cool. So I was super excited after the end of the first episode. And I said this on our review episode of those first 2 shows of The Mandalorian, where the introduction of Baby Yoda just opens this whole world of possibilities to find out more about Yoda's species, his home world. And while we didn't get that in this first season, I'm just so glad the opportunity is still there in future seasons. And I think we're going to get little information as the series goes along. And I'm totally okay with that. It just, again, expands this universe in this series so much in ways I was never expecting when it was first announced, about just being about a bounty hunter. So that's why I just love the direction it took. And it just gives me so much hype for the second season to continue on. That's what's great about Star Wars and TV. While I was expecting things to be wrapped up in the season finale, part of me was thinking, man, there's a lot to wrap up here in this final episodes. And we know the episode lengths aren't that long. So is it going to feel rushed? And it didn't feel rushed at all. They just left the door open to continue exploring these story opportunities. And that's what has me so excited about season 2. Not to mention the tease at the very last shot of this episode of Moff Gideon, after a really cool action sequence of the Mandalorian taking Moff Gideon down in a TIE fighter with his newly acquired jetpack. It was so cool. But I knew it couldn't end on just the Mandalorian, Grief Karga, and Cara Dune saying goodbye to each other, and that's it. There had to be a little stinger at the end to get us all hyped for season 2. And it did not disappoint, especially if you're a fan of Clone Wars and Rebels, as Moff Gideon gets out of his crash TIE fighter by igniting the Darksaber. Yes, the iconic Mandalorian-built lightsaber. And seeing it in live action for the first time was so cool. And not only visually, but it just makes you think, oh man, what happened? How did he get that? And to see it in action, live action, I'm saying action a lot, but to see that Darksaber in action in a live action Star Wars series should be cool, because you know there's going to be an action sequence with it in season 2. So just the story possibilities of maybe the Mandalorian getting the Darksaber back, and that's going to be his primary weapon, maybe, if he claims it, and then in his quest to maybe start rebuilding Mandalore to take back the homeworld and using that Darksaber as the leader. So again, there's just tons of different things you can go with that just has me excited as well. So yeah, it was just a great finale, man. I just loved it so much.
Speaking of lightsabers, and I don't mean to sound like one of those guys that are like, bring back the original cut or anything, but I kind of miss watching Star Wars, the original trilogy, and a lightsaber is ignited, right? And like in the scene where in Obi-Wan's Tatooine home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Luke ignites the lightsaber, and just for a split second, he's holding an aluminum pole. I kind of miss that.
You don't want the special effects technology to advance too much on the lightsabers, huh?
No, because it's so funny that it's like you're just holding an aluminum pole that has an effect on it. I mean, I know there's that one scene where Luke's, playing with the lightsaber, and you can see the shadow of the pole on C-3PO, and I just wish that they didn't touch that. But I'm sure it looks better completed, but the effect is good.
Yeah, they're still touching up sequences, because actually on the Disney Plus 4K remaster of A New Hope, they touched up the lightsaber again of Luke training on the Falcon. Was it? Because that never looked right on the DVD transfer, the Blu-ray transfer. Yeah. There's like this white color, or there's almost a greenish color to it also, but they fixed it where it is the blue lightsaber coloring. So they're still always tinkering with the lightsaber effects, even to this day.
Still can't get it right, but one day they'll perfect it, and the aluminum pole will be gone.
I don't think they're gonna have that problem with the Darksaber though.
No, that doesn't. That looks really good. Yeah, of course, like you said.
I was gonna say, how surprised were you when you saw that?
To be honest, I was like, is that what I think it is, or am I just? I mean, because you're the Star Wars guy, right?
Nerd. Just say
nerd. Okay, I'll say it, nerd. Me, not so much. And I did watch the Clone Wars, and of course saw Darth Maul with that lightsaber, and I was like, is that what I think it is? Should I make that connection, or is that like a new Star Wars thing, So, yeah, that. I mean, of course, it was great to see it. Of course, Moff Gideon stole it from the Mandalorians when the Mandalorians were massacred. I think that's where it came from.
Now, I know you were beginning to watch Rebels when Disney Plus came out. How far along are you on the series?
I can't remember. I'm still in season 1.
Oh, okay. So you haven't even gotten to the Mandalorian stuff yet in that series, because you should definitely try to watch those episodes as soon as possible to get more backstory on the Darksaber and possibilities of how Moff Gideon got it. So I won't spoil it for you, but it definitely goes a lot into the Darksaber and Rebels.
I do have a question though. Is Bo-Katan in
Rebels? You mean, right?
Rebels? Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
And again, plays into the Darksaber and just the history of Mandalore too. So you got to catch up, Dane.
Dang it. I sounded stupid, Tim.
Now, you'll just be glad you watched it when you did, because you'll start connecting the dots here and there. And then, again, going back to why I cannot wait for season 2, I just think we're going to get more explored in Mandalore's history. Heck, even in final Clone Wars season coming in February to Disney Plus. The Siege of Mandalore is going to wrap up the Clone Wars series, and I think it's going to be a pretty eventful moment for Mandalorians and their history. Even Moff Gideon referred to the Siege of Mandalore in the finale. Is it specifically the one in Clone Wars, or is he talking about another one? So it's just going to be awesome to get more of that gap in, fill in the blanks of that part of Mandalorian history in Clone Wars. So it's, with Dave Filoni involved, that's why I'm so glad he's involved with this show, because all these connective dots that you can make and have it flow seamlessly from animation to live action. I mean, heck, we saw the Death Watch from Clone Wars in the flashback sequence of the Mandalorian, where they're rescuing him from the battle droids.
Didn't Dave Filoni play a X-wing pilot?
Yeah, he did.
Right, that was him, right?
Yeah, that was the three directors of the series. You got Deborah Chow was the other one, and Rick Famuyiwa. I'm sure I pronounced his name wrong. I'm sorry, right. But that was just a cool little Easter egg to have the three main directors of the show be X-wing pilots.
But yeah, I mean, I know I criticized Mandalorian, but I loved it. I loved everything I saw. Even the filler episodes were like the Rebel prison ship episode. I liked that episode.
Yeah,
it has
that
nothing
really
to do with anything.
It was like a Batman style episode where I think people were referring to him as Batmando. Just the way he took out the bounty hunters that he was with.
Yeah. I mean, it has nothing to do with anything with the story. But I liked it. I love exploring the Star Wars universe, and I think The Mandalorian does a really, really good job with it. And of course, it shouldn't surprise you as a Star Wars fan that Dave Filoni is behind it. You saw what he did with the Clone Wars and Rebels and everything else. And yeah, I just love exploring the Star Wars universe outside of the movies. Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's why I like those filler episodes a lot, because, as you said, it explores different corners of the galaxy that we don't get to see too often, and it's just cool to see how things play out in those episodes. So, yeah, Star Wars in live action as a TV series was a big success with The Mandalorian with its first season. The general response from fans and casual audiences alike, I think, was great. I know a lot of people who aren't hardcore Star Wars fans really, really love it. And so its appeal is going across the board. It's not just hardcore fans, but just fans of cool television as well. So it's a big success, and I can't wait for season 2, which is confirmed for a fall 2020 release. So I was hoping maybe it might be a little earlier, maybe summer or something, but it's going to be fall. But hopefully it's September, October, not November, like when the Disney Plus app launched. So we'll see, but it's going to be, great to when it finally does air, but we could just watch the first season 1 over and over again until it's over. Because, man, I rewatched those episodes numerous times, and it still hasn't gotten old for me yet. So it definitely rewatchable.
Yeah, and if there's one thing to really take away from The Mandalorian, or it's the one thing that I take away from The Mandalorian is, we get to see the Mandalorians work, and we get to see more of the Star Wars universe, which is the most important part. But we finally get to see the Mon Calamari currency.
The thing we've been waiting for, yeah.
It looks like jelly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we finally got to see that.
It was in the first episode, too, so it was kind of all downhill, I guess, from there. So nothing really could top that.
Yeah, you peak in the first 10 minutes of the first episode, and it's all downhill.
Yeah, darksabers, a bunch of Mandalorians fighting.
Who cares, Tim?
Mon Calamari currency, yes. So needless to say, we love The Mandalorian, but that wasn't the only great bit of television we got during the fall winter of 2019.
Tim, can I say one more thing about the Mon Calamari currency?
Go for it.
Why isn't the credit universal? Sort of like the euro in Europe.
Well, I'm the big galaxy, so I'm sure there's different areas where certain currency isn't going to be accepted as Republic credits weren't accepted on
Right.
Tatooine with Watto, and now that the Empire has gone, Imperial credits are probably slowly getting rejected. So
Yeah.
I guess it all just depends where you're at.
So what you're saying is you're gonna have to stand in a bank, right? I mean, you're gonna have to go to a bank, right? If you're living in the Star Wars universe.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Hopefully, there's a lot of them set out throughout the galaxy. There's a Star Wars
Yeah.
TV show, Star Wars Banking.
Yeah, Star Wars banking.
Follows the life of a bank teller and the problems that arise when he has to, convert currency to the right
Yeah.
form of money.
I want to see the exchange logbook. Like, I want to see how many different, like, okay, so the Mon Calamari dollar is equal to 15,000 credits. Okay, so you brought in 10, so
You're rich if you just have a few Mon Calamari dollars. See, this is what Disney Plus is missing.
Yeah.
Our great creative Star Wars minds. This is the stuff we're coming up with here.
Yeah. Or one thing I've always wondered is like, both the Imperials, the First Order, the Republic, the New Republic, they have these giant, massive ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Star Destroyers. Like, do they hire a cleaning, like, crew? Is it or is it just the stormtroopers? It's just the stormtroopers, right?
Well, at least for the First Order, we know it is because Finn said he was in sanitation and mopped the floors of the Star Destroyers. So,
right,
maybe that is a tradition they continued on from the Empire as well.
Yeah. I just think they would have hired outside,
See, that's all stuff you can explore on Star Wars Banking. That could just be a whole episode in itself.
But anyway, yeah, let's get back to good stuff.
Yes, not Star Wars Banking.
Yeah.
And of course, the other good stuff is Watchmen. And it wasn't for the course of both, or the whole course of both series, but it was great getting to see new episodes of both The Mandalorian and Watchmen the same weeks. One on Friday night, one on Sunday night. It was just great getting these two amazing bit of television in the same week. I loved it. And totally different vibes and feels to it, but both just so great in their own ways. And Watchmen ended its first season in a great way too. And because we talked about the penultimate episode on our last show before we took our break, and just what it set up and how excited we were for the finale. And I know we're texting about it after we saw it, and I was I wouldn't say I was down on it, but I had a few nitpicks on it more than you did, Dane.
Sure.
As we were talking about it.
Sure. Yeah.
But it was still really great. And to me, one thing about it, and I don't want to view this as a knock because it still really works. It just, when you compare finales for like The Mandalorian, it just ended in this big bombastic way with great action set pieces and big teases and reveals. The Watchmen episode ended things really nicely and cleanly. And that just felt weird for Watchmen to me. I don't know. It just kind of, not where I was expecting like big action set pieces, but everything got wrapped up really nicely. It did end on a cliffhanger. It definitely had that. But the way the big overall story and the characters resolved themselves, it just felt not. I was maybe expecting more loose ends and more questions to be raised when they were answered, but no, it was like everything got wrapped up. There was no, besides the very final sequence of the episode, we knew what happened to the characters. There was really no question about any of them. So I don't know, it took me by surprise, I guess, for all the big twists and turns that this first season of Watchmen gave us, which was amazing. I was kind of surprised that this finale just set so nicely wrapped up, where you didn't have to debate too much on certain little things except the very final scene of the episode. But again, I don't want to view that as a knock. It was just surprising to me of how neatly things are wrapped up for almost all the characters and just the overall main plot of the course of this first season.
Yeah, Tim, you've got to watch Leftovers.
Okay.
I know I always bring it up when we watch we talk about Watchmen, but yeah, I mean, just to get a sense of what I guess Damon Lindelof wants to do nowadays. Um, he sort of had to do the Lost thing, and everything had to lead into everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like with the leftovers, it was just like reading a book. You read that doesn't have a sequel, right? Um, you start at the beginning, middle, and then end, and everything is wrapped up. Everything is good. And let's say there's a season 2 of Watchmen, so it's going to be the exact same thing, beginning, middle, and end, and it's going to wrap up. Um, and it's going to be totally different. Uh, but yeah, you have to watch Leftovers. I guess to kind of get a sense of, I guess, what David Lindelof wanted to do here with Watchmen. Um, he wanted to conclude his story. I'm sure the writers that work under him, wanted to do the exact same thing, and it's the exact same way with the leftovers. It's so hard to explain to somebody that hasn't seen the leftovers and it is more used to something like the Mandalorian,
Okay.
where everything leads to that next season, right? Um, you got to think about it like a book or a movie that is a one-off that has a beginning, middle, and an end.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact thing with Watchmen. Yeah.
Yeah, again, like it still all worked. It just caught me by surprise, and it is kind of refreshing to have it where it wraps up everything nice and cleanly. So, but I just
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it over the course of what else we got of this first season. But yeah, I mean, right away the episode starts off. One prediction I did have right happened in this one where we found out that Adrian Veidt was Lady True's father in the series, but just not conceived in the traditional way.
Nope, she
and
wasn't.
nope. And the fact that he didn't even know he had a daughter, and I guess just to focus on Adrian Veidt's story in this episode and what's revealed about it, I just really loved how everything fell into place with his story and how it connected to the overall of the events that were happening back on Earth, where he was pretty much there the whole time. And we all know that the sequences of events were playing out at different times when we would go to the Europa moon and on Earth, where Adrian Veidt's time there was playing out. We're probably seeing, I think each episode we saw him was a year. So again, I think someone has the timeline broken down. I haven't actually looked at it yet, but if I remember right, every time we see Adrian Veidt in a new episode, it's like a year has passed. So he could have been there for about 7 or 8 years. But every time we're on Earth, he was there the whole time because it was revealed that once he got off of Europa, he was that gold statue that was in Lady True's office.
Not
And
only that, he was that. Remember we were asking like, oh, why did Lady True buy that
that's
farm?
right, yeah.
Yeah, so she bought the farm so that she could essentially catch the the satellite or whatever that is.
The
It's the
rocket,
spaceship. Yeah,
yeah.
the spaceship. And so she would own it.
Yeah. And it was something where they didn't really say or make a point of it, but you kind of just, when you look back on that episode, it just makes sense. Okay, that's why
Right.
she wanted to buy that. That's what crashed down on that land. And even what he wrote to get her attention, save me, daughter, where originally we were talking that save me, Dr. Manhattan. But just knowing that as he told her, he would never call her a daughter or view her as a daughter, and the fact that he was so desperate to get out of there, he would have to refer to her as his daughter. That's what spoke to her, and she wanted to bring him back, but just mainly so she can gloat in his face to how she's gonna do what probably he couldn't even achieve. So just good stuff with their dynamics and how Adrian Veidt was played into this final episode of the season. But one of my other nitpicks happens with him at the very end. I might as well just say it since we're talking about Adrian Veidt. And I don't think you felt this way, Dane, but one of those things where, I don't know, I just didn't like how he was so casually arrested by Lori Blake and and she was ignoring everything, or I shouldn't say ignoring, but she got tired of keeping the secret, I guess, from the original Watchmen story and how she was going to arrest him for that, and just casually bring him to jail. We don't really see too much. To me, there just had to be something a little more with his character instead of just him being arrested like a common criminal, so to speak. I just felt a little too, again, it's like this is nitpicky, doesn't really bring the episode down too much, but for the character like Adrian Veidt, especially how we saw him in this season on that moon, is everything he went through. It just felt a little anticlimactic, rushed, where they had to wrap up everyone's storyline so you know where they're at, and just, okay, we'll just say that he's arrested and going to jail. I just wanted to see a little more expanded on that. But I don't know, I think that's just me who might have felt that way.
Yeah, we did talk about it, and I did explain that, like, what's Laurie gonna do? I mean, she can't really talk to what Adrian Veidt did, right? But another thing also I was thinking about was that I think it works good for his character. Adrian Veidt is all personality. He's egotistical,
Mm-hmm.
he's maniacal, he's a sociopath, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to have him just hit in the back of the head and get arrested is, I think, it strips all of that away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're just getting arrested now. Like, you know.
Yeah, I could see it as a good way of looking at it, where the irony of it all is he's going down kind of like a common criminal after that's he wants to be recognized as so much more. You know, in his mind, the savior of the world. So, but that's a good way to look at it too.
Yeah, it also plays into that first scene that we see Laurie, where she's at the bank, and then the guys rob the bank, and then that, I don't know what you call him, the Batman ripoff.
Yeah, there you go.
Shows up, and he has the smoke, and he comes down from the roof, and it looks all cool and stuff, and she shoots him in the back, right? And okay, it's over. And it was this big sham thing that the FBI set up to catch the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of plays into that, I think, also.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, maybe it'll feel better if I watch it again. Just as I was, I only seen it once. I did want to watch it again before I started talking about it, but didn't have time. But
and I do know what you're saying, because you know, you're expecting the Star Wars ending or the Mandalorian ending, right? Where something big happens, and then I don't know, the main character or whatever or whoever has this big ending, whereas, you know, Adrian Veidt just gets hit on the back of the head and gets arrested.
Yeah.
You know, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, that was kind of one of my only few nitpicks about it, but overall, it's the main thrust of the finale, and of course, the season is, of course, Dr. Manhattan and Angela and Lady True. And we get the reveal that Lady True plan was all along was pretty much to use the 7th Cavalry to do the hard work in getting the device ready to absorb Dr. Manhattan's powers. And we saw what happened to Senator Keene when he tried to do it. He turned into a blob of goo. I forget exactly.
That's the greatest scene, Tim. I kind of laughed when they opened that door and all of his, I don't know, blood or whatever comes pouring out.
I forget exactly what Lady True said to them, or what they needed to do to prevent that from happening, but they were too dumb to realize it.
Yeah. Oh, what did she say? Oh, I can't remember, but
yeah, there's some safety measure.
Yeah.
But it was before that. It was great that, you know, we got confirmation, even though it was teased out in the previous episode. Looking Glass was alive and he was there to help, even though he didn't play a big factor in helping stop the 7th Cavalry or even Lady True here. Just glad that he was trying to do what he could. He was disguised as a 7th Cavalry member wearing the Rorschach mask, but it's cool to have him still play a little role in there. And just seeing the 7th Cavalry get what was coming to them was great. And they were just gone in an instant as Lady True was using the energy that was absorbed from Dr. Manhattan, if I remember right, where she's giving a speech, and then I believe it was the police chief's wife, I forget his name, but she just said, "You're just gonna kill us, aren't you? Like, gonna get on with it," type of thing. And Lady True's all, "Yeah, right." And she just disintegrates them all in an instant. So they got what was coming to them, but then you had to stop Lady True from absorbing all of Dr. Manhattan's power as well. And I believe it was because when Angela shows up, Dr. Manhattan, he's been trapped and obviously getting the power drained out of him. But once the goo from Senator Keene's chamber was kind of dripping out, he was able to touch it and teleport. Everyone, like Adrian Veidt, Looking Glass, and Lori, to Adrian Veidt's headquarters, I guess, in the Arctic, and to get them to safety. But Angela didn't go; she wanted to stay with them. And I believe it was. See, this is where I should have watched it again. But the reason Dr. Manhattan
he didn't transport Angela.
Yeah,
right? Because he didn't want to die alone.
Exactly, that was it.
Sad.
It was just a great moment, dude. Again, just building off of the great previous episode of their relationship and how it worked so well, and just seeing kind of Dr. Manhattan that vulnerable was, pretty surprising to see, but it worked so well. And yeah, just the way they used Dr. Manhattan in the series was so surprising, but yet so good. It continued on through the course of how they wrapped up his story arc, because we pretty much got the end of Dr. Manhattan here and how his story ends. Because you kind of expect him to, as a being, to live forever and have infinite possibilities. Obviously, he could see to beyond time and spaces, seeing the past, seeing the future, and all that stuff. But to have us see a finality to his story arc and his character was, I don't want to say great to see, because it was a great character arc that he went on over the course of this series, but it just worked so well and how it ended, and of course leads into the big tease at the end. But overall, just a great unique way that I wasn't expecting this series to explore the character of Dr. Manhattan, and they stuck the landing as far as wrapping up his story for good.
Yeah, I just don't know if he's gone. Did he turn into something else?
Mm-hmm. I mean, all that's possible, but I really took it as like kind of as a definitive ending to his character. But yet he is possibly going to live on through Angela. I guess if we want to go into the big end cliffhanger scene right there.
Speaking of Star Wars, by the way. One thing you didn't mention was the Adrian Veidt putting the frozen calamari into the.
That's right. That's how they win. Yeah, that's always so true.
And it's so great to see Lady True, and then the calamari goes through her, or the squid or whatever, goes through her hand. She looks at it, and you see a big giant hole in her hand. I just thought that was great. Plus, too, I mentioned this before when we were texting about it.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Red Scare, Pirate Jenny, they get away. They survived him.
Thank goodness.
The main characters of Dane's story survive. Thankfully, they survived.
This finale would have been a total disappointment if both of them died.
I know, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't even be talking about it right now.
I thought for sure that Red Scare was going to get it, but
I was concerned for you, Dane. I really was.
Yeah, but luckily that car was right there, and they escaped the squid shower, the frozen squid shower.
Squid shower, yeah.
But I did like how they ended this season or this series. Whatever.
Oh, hopefully it's just this season. I'm hoping, but from all the talk, especially from Damon Lindelof, this series might be accurate though.
Yeah, I really liked how they ended it with the egg. That was disgusting when she ate it. Sorry, but that was gross, and just that sort of. See, I got to bring it up again, Tim. I got to bring up The Leftovers, because it from season one, I thought it was a criticism of religion, of cults and religion, I'd say. But at the end of the series, it's about having faith. Really,
Mm.
it's about belief. It's not in any kind of being any kind of god, but having faith in somebody else, believing somebody when they tell you something. And it's kind of a beautiful way to end a series that was so critical of religion and things like that, right? To have it be uh, about belief and having faith in somebody or something, you know. Um, and I feel it's the same way with Watchmen. It's a story that's criticizing people that dress up and think that they're fighting crime, right? Um, but it ends in a way where it's like you have to have that belief in that egg, right? That Dr.
Mhm.
Manhattan put that his powers into that egg, and you kind of have to believe it. I mean, sure, you can say that no, she just ate a raw egg and she just went straight through that water, but I think the beauty of it is that what if she didn't, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a great way to end the series, especially something that's been so critical of superpowers and people dressing up and I don't know all these other things, right? I
Yeah.
just thought that was a great way to end it.
And even before that too, I really like one of the best lines of the episode, even of the season, and I'm probably not gonna remember it word for word, but when Will was talking to Angela in the theater about using the mask that they wear to cover the pain that they have and the
Right,
scars, and he
right,
says you can't do that. Like wounds need air to heal, or something to that effect, where you just can't have it be covered all the time to remove the pain. In order, if you want to heal and move on from your scars and pain, you're gonna have to, not just hide behind a mask all the time, which was
yeah,
a great point to kind of what you were talking about too, and moving into that final sequence of her eating that egg and what it represents, because instead of, at least the way I look at it, is not her just wanting to have the powers of Dr. Manhattan and continuing that on, but I think she just wanted John to be a part of her now that he's gone. And just again goes into the great relationship that they have. And if she gets all his powers, obviously he teased that in the conversation they had at the bar, which led her to think that and why she ate it. But I think it's more so she just wants John to be a part of her to be a part of him now. And that's the real motivation for why she did it. And I don't know, that obviously it ends before we saw if it worked or not, where we saw her foot hit the water, but it is left open for interpretation. And for right now, I'm choosing to believe that she has those powers and she was able to walk across the pool in her backyard. So I don't know. What was your take? How did the scene continue in your mind, Dane?
I don't know. I have to be agnostic about it, right? Um, I'd like to think that, I mean, contrary to what I probably should say, I want to believe that she walked across that water, you know.
Mhm.
But going back to what Will was saying, and like how another great line he had was that he wasn't angry, he was scared. You
Mhm.
know, he was scared that, I mean, he lived through something terrible, and it got translated into anger, but it was really that he was scared. I just thought that was a great cap to that part of the story, the Oklahoma thing, and the racism, and um, this extraordinary being episode, right? I just
Yep.
thought that was a great cap to it.
Yeah, definitely. Man, this series again, just like with the Mandalorian, I was expecting it to be one thing, but it turned into something totally different over the
Right.
course of the entire series, and it worked just as well. That's why I love
Yeah.
these so much. You expected one thing, and it delivered on what you're expecting, but also added so much more to it as well. When you throw in the Hooded Justice storyline, Dr. Manhattan, it was just so good with great performances across the board. It was just phenomenal. 8 episodes of or it's 9 episodes. Yeah,
9. Yeah.
one more with
And
Mandalorian.
yeah, and I get why you have criticisms to it for it. It can't be that great to have the rug pulled out from your under your feet, right?
Yeah.
But it was good in the end, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was mainly more of a surprise than anything. And my one nitpick was probably still just with how Adrian Veidt story wrapped up.
Yeah.
But I will say, if I had to pick a favorite episode of the entire season, it's still this extraordinary being. I mean, I think we talked about it on our last one. We'll see if the finale could top it. It didn't for me, but it's just because how great that episode was. It's just such a highlight.
It didn't have to. It didn't have to.
Yeah, that's a great point too. It didn't have to.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. This extraordinary being is the best episode that we've of this season. I just hope that they do another one. I think it's going to be like True Detective, where we're going to have to wait, or Westworld, we're just going to have to wait for the next season.
A couple of years.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as it's maintained that same quality, it'll be worth the wait, and I'll gladly wait until we get more. Because as we talked about The Mandalorian, there's tons of great stuff to fill in the void as we wait for second seasons of these great shows. So. But yeah, both of them were just so great to watch on a weekly basis. I'm already missing both of them. Looking forward to watching new episodes for each week. So, but yeah, what a great cap off for television for 2019.
Yeah, that first Sunday without it was like, what am I going to watch?
Yeah. Even Dr. Manhattan himself should have his. I'm going to remember his name one of these days, but Yaha Abdul II. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Abdul Mateen.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot what. Okay. But he
3
sent
names.
the tweet. He sent the tweet out saying about, oh, can't wait for you guys to see tonight's Watchmen episode. It's going to be like, oh wait, that's it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, were you going to say something else on it?
No, I was just going to say it's been a great season. Hopefully we get more. One character we didn't get any sort of resolution or conclusion to was Panda. What happened to Panda?
That's right. He wasn't part of the police officer squad that went there at the end of the finale. So, had to hide from the squid raid. His Panda helmet could have came in handy.
Well, I assume he always has to be at the police station because he's unlocks the guns, right?
Yeah.
For the cars. So
for emergency situation, I would think he'd have to get out there on the field, but where it's an all hands on deck thing, maybe. Well, see, there's the character to focus on for the sequel.
Yeah. Red Scare and Pirate Jenny also.
Yep. See, we're mapping out all these new TV shows and seasons for HBO and Disney Plus. Star Wars Banking and the Panda, Red Scare, and Pirate Jenny show.
None of which are good ideas. Yeah. None of which are good ideas, Tim.
Yeah, they're not good. They're great ideas.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, awesome TV to watch. But, of course, the big event of 2019 was going to be Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, the final episode of the Skywalker saga. To say I was excited about it would be the massive understatement of the year. It's here. I've seen it 4 times, which might give you an indication how I feel about it. But obviously, anyone who listens to Star Wars The Saga Continues podcast knows that it's not going to be a huge shocker that I've spent already hours talking about it on our review episode, which broke our Last Jedi record of a 6-hour podcast with 7 hours of discussion on The Rise of Skywalker. So before I go on about it, I got to hear what you thought about it, Dane, and I'll just respond to your thoughts on the big events and reveals that happened in the movie. Because while we did text after we saw it and got our general impressions on it, I have been waiting for this episode to really hear what you thought about the big reveals to the characters and how the story wrapped up for the saga as a whole. So I am anxious to hear what you thought.
Okay. I'm gonna start off with what I thought of the movie uh, overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it. It's the Game of Thrones season 8 sort of feeling I have towards it.
Interesting.
It's the last thing. I'm not gonna criticize it. It is a mess. It's not written very well. It's not edited really well, which brings me to a question. Like, I know they did reshoots of it. Did they do a lot of reshoots for it? Do you know, Tim?
I don't know the exact amount. They did reshoots, yeah, but I don't think it was
Yeah.
extensive like Rogue One was, where they pretty much
Right.
redid the whole ending.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, is it like a Rogue One situation, or is it? But yeah, it is a mess. I do agree with the reviewers that it is. It's not a very good story. It
Wow,
made me
so we're gonna be
wonder.
disagreeing on this more than I thought.
Yeah, it made me wonder, what happened with the story. And then I looked and I remembered who wrote it, you know, and what movie did he write before this one?
hmm
Chris Terrio and Batman versus Superman, and that was a giant mess too. So that sort of made sense, right? Um, and I gotta criticize just one aspect of it, of um, the Rise of Skywalker as a sequel to The Last Jedi, bringing back the mythology of Star Wars. Whereas um, in The Last Jedi, it was sort of broken, and it like this wasn't a grand thing, with all of the romanticism. It sort of was like, okay, this is a war, and this is serious, and you can go off and do your magic thing, but we still have to run away from the bad guys, right? Um, and I felt like bringing all that magic stuff back into the Star Wars universe for the Rise of Skywalker was kind of a bad idea.
Interesting.
Because I don't think it was a good I don't think it was a good choice, because it some of the I'm trying to be not like all these people that hate the movie. Some of the choices felt really, really forced, and I think you know what I'm about to say, and that's
Mm-hmm.
Ray's lineage. Ray being the granddaughter of Palpatine. I just thought it didn't make any sense. Why just make her the child of a drunkard? Drunkards, right? Just make her. The parents don't matter, because it doesn't have to matter. She can just be a regular uh, person in the universe, in the Star Wars universe. Sort of like that kid that we saw at the end of The Last Jedi. He
Broom
has
boy.
nothing. Yeah, yeah, Broom Boy. He has nothing to do with anything, and I hope, if that kid was the new Ray, he wouldn't be the great grandson of, I don't know, Leia, right? Or whatever, you know? Um, I just didn't think that some of this stuff worked, especially Ray. Also, another thing was the transferring of bodies and the I'm dead, I'm alive, I'm dead, now I'm back alive. But then at the end, I'm dead. I just didn't think that worked either. Um, but besides that, it's yeah, it was a mess. Some of the stuff didn't really work, particularly with Ray and Palpatine and using the dark powers of the Force to keep himself alive. I I just didn't feel like a lot of the stuff. worked in this movie, both with the Force stuff and with the story. Like, we were talking about fetch quests in The Mandalorian, and I felt like this was just a giant fetch quest. You know, you had to find the dagger, and you had to find the what was that thing called? The Wayfinder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you finally find Palpatine, and then all this other stuff happens. It's just sort of like a giant fetch quest, and I wonder what would have happened if it was more of an immediate story, sort of like The Last Jedi, or I don't know, Dunkirk, right? Where Dunkirk, you know, it's we got to get off this beach. We got to get these people off the beach. We got to get these British soldiers off the beach, right? And then, you know, you follow the story that way. Whereas this is more like, okay, so we're gonna go here. We got to find the thing, and then we got to go find another thing. Oh, but it's in a different language. Uh, but C-3PO can translate it, but he can't speak it. Okay, so we got to find a way for him to speak it. You know, I just thought it was too meticulous and kind of getting in the way of concluding this trilogy. Uh, but yeah, I don't want to be too negative on it. I know a lot of people are negative on it. I just have these little these nitpicks about it, like you had with Watchmen. Um, I I just feel like this they could have done better with the story. I think that this movie was uh, built on the shoulders of and dragged across the finish line through the performances of Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver. Uh, but in the end, I feel the same way I felt about the Game of Thrones finale. Just gotta end it, and I'm gonna appreciate what we got, right? I like the fact that um, Ray takes on the Skywalker name at the end. I really really
Oh
like
yes.
that. I know some people don't like it. Some people on Twitter don't like it.
Shocker.
Um, but I love it. I just thought it was a great way to end the series, the trilogy of movies, and building her own lightsaber. That was another thing too. Building her
Mhm.
own, having her own lightsaber,
And the
and
first yellow bladed lightsaber in the Star Wars
yellow
films
bladed
too.
lightsaber, right? Um, I just wish it was executed a little bit better. Um, a lot of the stuff felt really, really forced. But in the end, I liked it. I loved it. This is Star Wars. This is uh, adult criticism, I guess, aside. This is Star Wars, you know, and this is what you get excited for. And um, if I put all those criticisms aside, all the technical aspects of the film, it's a great movie. It's a great Star Wars movie. Is it a great film? No, it's not. But it's a great Star Wars movie. And I think what it says about, you know, the conclusion of the story and where we were leading to. I mean, again, I'm going back to the Mandalorian and where we're leading to, and where Ray ends up in the end. I felt it did a really good job. Um, One final thing I will say is I'm so glad that the most underrated character of the this new trilogy, possibly Tim, of all of Star Wars, the entire universe, right? I'm so glad that General Hux got his moment to shine.
He fulfilled his purpose as
Yeah,
being a mole in the First Order.
the most underrated character, I'd say.
The, his world was surrounded by the First Order. He loved it so much, and he ended up playing a big part in bringing it down, just to rub it in
Yeah,
Kylo's face.
yeah. So, I guess in conclusion, I'd say I love the movie. Oh, also one other thing is I don't think bringing back Palpatine was a good idea. I just don't. And that whole thing with he created Snoke to be his puppet. Yeah, that's not a good idea. I mean, I can see why, but I in the end, I don't think it was a good idea to bring back Palpatine. Um, yeah, I guess that's all I'll say because I don't want to get too negative, and in the end, I did like this movie. Like I said, is this a great film? No. Is this a great Star Wars? Is this a good Star Wars movie? Yes. I liked it. It's a fun adventure, I'd say, and particularly with seeing Finn and Poe and Ray and R2 and I don't think R2 was there.
That was
but
good.
seeing the main three characters together was good.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I'll say, and then you can say what I'm wrong about.
Yeah, I gotta say, Dave, I'm bummed that you didn't like all what was revealed about Rey and Palpatine because man, I love that stuff, and
Yeah.
I just gotta disagree with you on the whole where you didn't like bringing the magic and mythology back to Star Wars because that's one of the things I felt with the Last Jedi that bugged me about it too. Certain things were because how one of the things that was hard for me to get over that Rey's parents were nobodies and that they were trying to show that you don't have to come from a special family to have this great power and be important. Well, that's true, but again, this is the Skywalker saga, and if your main protagonist in this story has to have some sort of, I feel, significance and importance to that family when this is what the story and saga is all about. And I thought it was a cool way to have it where she's coming from Palpatine, the person who's affected the Skywalker family like no other. The fact that his granddaughter is now representing the light side of the Force and bringing in again more of that mythology aspect, the dyad of the Force that her and Kylo represent, one of the light, one of the dark side. Both the granddaughter of Palpatine, the grandson of Vader, that connection they have. I just love all that stuff and all that new elements they bring into it. And again, from a thematic storytelling standpoint, I just think it's a cool way to end the Skywalker saga on, where the granddaughter of Palpatine, someone where her history is nothing but evil. You could look at Ben Solo and his legacy. He has his grandfather, Anakin. Obviously, he looks up to Darth Vader, but Anakin was once a good guy and got redeemed. And Rey doesn't have that hope for her family lineage. Palpatine is nothing but evil. And the fact that she resisted temptation of the dark side, she represented the light side of the Force as the Force was awakening during this time period in both Kylo and Rey. And then I just think there's something beautiful about where her rejecting her family name of Palpatine, its history, its heritage, and taking on the people who truly loved her and represented her or shaped her who she became in Luke and Leia, her Jedi masters. And I'm glad at least she really liked the ending of her taking on the name Skywalker. Man, I just had the biggest smile on my face when I saw that in the theater. I was hoping for that even before going in, that this is where the direction of her story and her character arc was going to go. This is the Skywalker saga. The Skywalkers are gone now. Luke, Leia, Ben Solo, they're one with the Force, but their legacy and their importance is carrying on through Rey, and I just love that about it. We got the finality to the Skywalker saga. I love what it represents with her burying the lightsabers, and the story of the Skywalkers is buried, or I should say, the story of the Skywalkers is connected to that lightsaber so much in the history it has, and now that the Skywalker story is done, she can finally lay that lightsaber to rest to where everything all began in Tatooine, and that was such. I just love that ending so much. And I cannot believe people are having issues with Rey going to Tatooine. Like, why did she choose that planet? Why did she have to bury the lightsabers there? I mean, really? What? Tatooine is the quintessential Star Wars planet. I mean, where else would she take it to have, bring some closure to the story? The way it ended with her looking at the twin suns, similar to how Luke did in A New Hope. It was just so beautifully done. I just loved it so much.
So, why do people have problems with her going back to... We're going to Tatooine.
I know. And some people have to think she's going there to isolate herself and live there and be away from Poe and Finn. And like, I didn't get that interpretation at all. She was just there to bury the lightsabers and, pay tribute to Luke and Leia, her masters, her parental figures that she never had. It just, yeah, that type of nitpick. And I'm sorry, I just don't understand. Leia's homeworld was destroyed. The Skywalkers began on Tatooine. Of course, she's going to take both of their lightsabers there. So to me, that's just such a non-issue. And just the fact that we got to learn more about Leia and her Jedi training that she had with Luke too, that was such a cool surprise to me. We know she obviously was strong in the Force and might have had some training, but not to the extent that we saw in this movie where Luke actually trained her. They were training in lightsaber combat. She built her own lightsaber. All that new aspect added to Leia's history, I thought was so great. And the fact that she continued on being Rey's master, I thought was such a great touch as well. Because I just thought after The Last Jedi, Rey was going to continue her training through reading those books, which of course she did, but Leia played a pivotal role in continuing her Force training, as we saw in the beginning. And I thought that was just so great. And again, going into the title, The Rise of Skywalker, why she would take that name, and because of her relationship with Luke and Leia, and her being a Palpatine despite her being a Palpatine, and Leia continuing to train her and showing who she really is, how, as Luke says, some things are stronger than blood, and showing that you can be your own person despite the baggage that sometimes comes with your history. So I just love the message that it sent there and what it represents for Rey. For that girl we met all alone on Jakku, surviving on her own, and now knowing the history of that, I just think it just adds more to the story when you watch The Force Awakens again, what we see her go through in The Last Jedi, and to where it all comes to in The Rise of Skywalker, knowing that she was a Palpatine and why she was there, but yet rejecting that heritage and taking on the name Skywalker to wrap up the Skywalker saga, I thought was just so well done. So,
hey Tim, can I ask you a question real quick?
Of course.
What's the name of the ration guy on Jakku?
It is Unkar Plutt.
Unkar Plutt?
Yeah.
Oh. Wonder what happened to him.
Well, there's a deleted scene of The Force Awakens where he tracks Rey and Han and Finn to Maz Kanata's castle and confronts her, and Chewie rips his arms off.
So he's dead.
They filmed that scene; it just wasn't finished. So you can actually see it on Disney Plus, the deleted scene section for Force Awakens.
Okay, so he's dead then. All right,
more than likely.
One other thing. I thought it was a good idea to bring back Han Solo.
That was amazing. Yeah.
That whole a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was a great idea.
How else is Kylo Ren really fully going to come back to the light side? It has to be. I love how that scene played out the opposite way of Han's death in The Force Awakens. There was similar dialogue that Kylo Ren was saying, and Han Solo still wanting to help like he wanted to help in The Force Awakens. It was just so beautifully done. That whole sequence, I thought, was probably my favorite part of the movie, the lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo, Kylo's redemption, the way Rey helps him, the death of Leia to reach her son, and then Ben Solo fully coming back and throwing away that lightsaber because of the conversation he has with Han Solo. And man, again, you touched on it with the acting. It was just Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver knocked it out of the park in this movie. Not to say that I didn't enjoy the performances in the last two. Obviously I did, but I just felt they just took it to another level in this one. And that scene in particular just really brought it all home. So yeah, obviously I loved it. I wish you loved it as much as me, Dane. But yeah. It's funny as it's the people who really, really loved The Last Jedi have more issues with this movie, and the people who really, really didn't like The Last Jedi really like this movie because they're just so different in what they're trying to say in Star Wars, I think.
They're two completely different films, which is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. You can have that serious, immediate thing like The Last Jedi, and then you can have, something like The Rise of Skywalker that's all about the magic, all about that Disney magic,
I'd say Star Wars magic.
Star Wars.
Because it was there before they bought Disney bought it.
Sure. But in the end, I gotta say, am I gonna see it again? Yeah. Am I gonna buy it? Yeah, of course I am. It's Star Wars, and this is Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker is Star Wars, and I'm okay with that. I think some of the ideas that were there were good. Um, it's just the technical aspect, I think I'd say. But yeah, I really enjoyed it as a adventure, sort of. Um, yeah, that I think I think that's where I'm at. Um, I just enjoyed it.
Well, here's hoping multiple viewings it'll get better for you. Maybe watching. I can't wait to already watch episode 1 through 9 all in a row. I just think that's going to be a fantastic Star Wars viewing experience. So
Yeah.
yeah. So if you want to hear me more talk about it, you got 7 hours worth of more discussion on the Rise of Skywalker.
Did you do additional podcasts on other people's Star Wars podcasts? Like, I don't know,
Not
whoever else.
not this time. It's mainly just 7
Oh.
hours on the saga continues.
You know,
But
yeah, the Skywalker trilogy sure is good, right? Or the Skywalker saga, sorry. Um, but I gotta say, one, Last Jedi is probably the best Star Wars movie for me, but number two is Rogue One. I still can't believe Disney made that movie. I, I still can't believe the finality of it. We're not gonna have a series of films. This is it. I can't believe they made that movie, and it's dark and it's it's complicated. I still can't believe it.
yeah, it's still ranked pretty high up there. As
Yeah.
I mean, Force Awakens has always been my favorite of this new era of Disney Star Wars films, and I'm not sure if Rise of Skywalker is going to rival that, but I don't know. I think right now I could still say Force Awakens probably still my favorite, but Rogue One, I mean, as a movie that just it's up there for a lot of fans I know, and that just it gets better with each viewing every time I see it. So you're not alone in that one and thinking that, Dane.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Also, Solo is the most underrated Star Wars film.
Yes. I watched that about a week ago too, man. I just wish more people would have saw this movie. It's all the people who complain about Disney Star Wars and the direction they took. I think everything they want is in Solo, and they're just not seeing it for stupid reasons.
It's fun. It's fun.
It's a great adventure.
Yeah.
All right, so those are the big stuff that happened since we were on our break. I don't know. How about on the gaming front, Dane? Have you been playing anything new?
Yeah, I have. Death Stranding.
You started it, huh?
Yeah.
And
you see, I love Kojima. I love his games. I love what he does, what he stands for. He's made some of the greatest games I've ever played. Death Stranding isn't one of them.
So you're kind of in line with all the reviews I saw for it.
Yeah, he does the Star Wars thing, right? Drops you right in the middle of a story. And it's kind of hard to figure out what's going on because it's like sci-fi, but there's ghosts and demons and stuff. And I just thought it would be a little bit different, I'd say. The game looks beautiful. It's the stunning landscapes. It's the character models are really, really good. It's just the gameplay. I don't understand it. It's so what you play a delivery man. So think of UPS. You're a UPS delivery man, except you don't have a truck, and you're in the future, and you're going across terrain, and you can only carry so much on your back, and so you're just pretty much going over terrain to deliver cargo or to deliver packages. That's the game.
That's
so
the crux
far.
of the gameplay. Really?
So far, I guess.
How far along are you into the game?
You see, that's really hard to tell because the cutscenes are so long. Like you meet Guillermo del Toro in the beginning. He's in the game, or at least his image, right? And some of the cutscenes go on, I swear, for like 20, 25 minutes. And
Wow,
it's
that's typical Kojima too, though.
yeah, yeah, that's typical. Like some of them, I think one of the Metal Gear games, there's a 45-minute cutscene. Um, but yeah, it's the same thing here, and it's kind of like I don't know what's going on. I, I don't understand how this world works. And there's too little story between having to walk everywhere. Like in the beginning of the game, somebody dies and you have to take their body to an incinerator, otherwise they'll turn into this big demon thing. And so you put the person's body on your back and you have to navigate your way to the incinerator. Um, it's not. It's kind of boring.
I was gonna say, that doesn't sound exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. Um, there's a soundtrack from like current artists that
Oh,
I
really?
guess
Like a top 40 hits or something like that?
no that wrote songs for the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and like that band Churches. I don't know if
Okay.
you yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of boring, and keeping you're pretty much just walking and keeping the balance, your character's balance as he goes over rough terrain. No combat as far as I've played.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna have to say it's not a recommend.
Well, I can't say I'm too surprised after the reviews I've seen for it. So,
It's kind of a letdown.
do you see yourself making it through and finishing the game?
No,
Or yeah.
I've to be honest, I've already uninstalled it.
Wow. Don't even want it taking up
So
space on your hard drive.
yeah, so yeah, it's not a very good one.
Well, that's a bummer.
But you, Tim, surprised me.
Yes.
You're playing the second Tomb Raider finally. It's only been 5, 6 years, Tim.
Well, I don't think it's been that long, but
Yeah.
when did it? I think it might be 2 or 3 years old at this point. So, yeah, I was late to the first game too. I played that one, I think, in 2015, and that came out, what, 2014, 13? Might have been 2013.
13.
Yeah,
13.
yeah. I'm late to the Tomb Raider games. I've had this one for about a year or two now. I just got it when like the holiday sales at the Xbox store, and it's been sitting on my hard drive. I go, you know what? I really want to play these games, and I just bought the third one too because that was on sale. But
Right.
obviously, I got to play the second one, and so finally started that about a week ago, and I'm loving that game. It's really really fun. The graphics are great, the combat's fun, the exploration's fun. So I'm about, I think my percentage of completion, I'm about 20 right now, so I'm still kind of early on in it, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
That's good.
Yeah, and coming off of playing Jedi Fallen Order, I could definitely see the influences it had on that game with the exploration and traveling as far as how you explore the different environments and stuff and find clues and puzzles and stuff like that.
Right.
I forget, did you play
I'm
the newest Tomb Raider game yet?
yeah, I'm
Okay, so you played
almost
all
at the
three.
end of it. Yeah, I'm almost at the end of it. I'm just wondering what I'm just trying to remember the story for the second one.
It's almost like that she's trying to find the Fountain of Youth, so to speak, and she's going up against this organization, Trinity.
Right.
And I just made it to the point where one of her friends, of like someone who was the girlfriend of her father, just betrayed her, and she was actually working for
Oh,
Trinity
yeah.
this whole time.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the point where I just finished that point where I'm escaped from their compound with this guy named Jacob, who kind of knows more about that Fountain of Youth or that
Yeah.
wellspring. So I just finished that section and about to start the portion of the game that comes after that. So
Yeah, because the third game, Beyond Trinity, it has nothing to do with the second game.
okay,
Um,
that's kind of what I figured.
Also, just for future reference, Tim, I want you to tell me when you do eventually get to the third game 5 years from now,
Yeah.
There's a puzzle in the third game. It's a flashback sequence.
Okay.
Lara as a girl, and you're outside of the Croft mansion. You sneak your way back in, and you're trying to get to this room, but there's a chess puzzle. That's really complicated. It took me a long time to figure it out, and I ended up looking it up because I couldn't figure it out. So
okay, yeah, I'll have to
let me
remember.
know.
Like,
Yeah.
like you said, 5 years down the line, if we're still remembering this conversation we've had, I'll definitely let you know if I was able to crack it without any assistance.
Yeah, like I couldn't figure it out. Like the Earth, like
There's like
there's a
symbols
giant.
you got to match up or something.
Okay, so the room is a giant chessboard. Okay, at some points in the room, there's two globes of the Earth, right?
Uh-huh.
And you have to match up the clues that you have in your journal to the exact point on the globes to
Okay.
unlock the chess pieces. And then you got to rearrange the chess pieces using a riddle to get it to shine, this light thing to shine on this amber thing. So
Now, is this a required puzzle or is it an optional like tune that
required,
you could...
required.
Okay.
It's part of the story. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that one was really complicated.
Well, now I have that to look forward to when I start the third game. So yeah, you're playing new games. I'm going back to playing older games that I
Yeah.
just haven't had a chance to play yet. But good regardless, though, no matter how old.
Yep, yep. The three Tomb Raider games are really good. I do have to agree with you on that, even though we disagree about the Rise of Skywalker, Tim.
Yeah. We could always look at Tomb Raider to where we can
Yeah.
find common ground. All
I,
right. So
I almost want you to play Death Stranding.
that's okay.
Maybe if
If,
it's cheap.
maybe I can just watch cutscenes on YouTube or something, since maybe that's all it is. So,
Oh yeah,
but
that's right. The Last of Us 2 comes out this year.
yeah, I
We
still got
got
to play
delayed.
I still haven't even played the first one, so that's even longer than Tomb Raider games for me.
Yeah, you gotta play it. You gotta play it, Tim.
And plus, the remastered on the PS4, so it'll be look even better than when most of those two versions played on the PS3s. So
Yeah.
eventually, when I do, I'm sure it'll be. I know it'll be great because it's Naughty Dog, all the great reviews that it gotten. So even though I think I am, see, I get spoiled on the ending, but then it's been so long since I even read about it again, I forget what exactly happens. So probably when I do play it, even though I did at some point know what happens, it'll still be new and unexpected for,
Yeah.
I guess, what does transpire in the game for me whenever I do play it.
The Last of Us 1 has one of the best opening scenes I've ever played in a video game.
That I think I do remember what
Yeah.
transpires there. So 'cause I think that might gets talked about more than the ending, at least from what I've
Yeah.
seen on it.
Well, the ending is understated, kind of like the Watchmen ending.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we can go ahead and move on to some news and discussion topics, just a couple regarding upcoming DC films. The first being that, as we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, The Batman has officially started filming. And of course, there's set photos of what's being filmed. Nothing too major or drastic. I think there were some images of Robert Pattinson on a motorcycle, but he had a helmet. His face was kind of covered, so you couldn't really get a good look at him. Definitely wasn't in the Batman costume, but there was also shots of Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, who was confirmed by Matt Reeves himself on Twitter. That's who he's playing. And then Jeffrey Wright, who's playing Commissioner Gordon, just sent a tweet out a few days ago saying he woke up jet lagged at 10 p.m. thinking it was late, but it was actually 4:45, and he's off to Gotham. So the actors are falling into place and are filming the latest Batman movie, which is exciting. And I'm just hoping soon, before any leaks come out of the actual Batsuit, we'll get an official image release from Warner Brothers about it, just so that could be our first reveal of Robert Pattinson's Batman costume, which I can't wait to see because all the rumors are saying it's going to be the blue and gray coloring for Batman's costume, which would be cool to see it back on live action because we haven't seen it since the Adam West show. And obviously it's not going to look like that, but seeing a more modern Batman costume in that color scheme, I think would be really cool to see. So I'm anxious to see it. But yeah, filming's underway, which is exciting. And also we got a new trailer for the Birds of Prey, the final one, because it's just forgetting how soon it's coming out next month in February. So a late final trailer for it. And it's showing off more of the tone and comedic style that we're going to get with this movie. But my big takeaway from it, first off, the action is looking really cool and unique for this movie. The way it's shot, the way it's just trailers, so they're quick shots, but still, I just like how they're playing off the action. You're seeing characters playing off each other and fighting together with certain criminals and thugs or whatever, but just how it's shot and how it's being choreographed looks really cool. More so than I saw in previous trailers. So the action looks like it's going to be really cool to see in this movie. But the biggest takeaway for me, we got our first look at Black Mask's mask. Ewan McGregor putting on the black skull face mask. Yes, it is the skull version one, which I was hoping for. And again, it's hard to tell how long he's actually going to wear it in the film because most of the shots we're seeing of Ewan McGregor, he doesn't have the mask on. There are a couple of them here where we do see him with the mask. There's that one great close-up where we seeing him put it on. This looks straight out of the comics. It looks great. So hopefully what I'm hoping for, he'll slowly tease it throughout the course of the movie. But then at the end, their final confrontation, he'll be wearing that black mask. And maybe it'll be something happens in the battle where it gets melted onto his face, kind of like his original origin in the comics. And that's his face permanently. So we'll see. But it looks really cool. And yeah, just gotta wait for the movie to come out. It's one I'm not like super excited about, but I'm obviously gonna check it out anyway. And just hopefully it delivers a fun, cool movie with these classic DC characters that we're seeing on screen for the first time. And hopefully they play off each other well, which the trailers indicate looks like it's going to. I just got to go into it not expecting your typical Birds of Prey type story that we're so familiar with in comics and certain DC TV shows adaptations we've gotten of it. It's definitely doing its own thing and going for a more comedic flair and tone to it with Harley being in the lead, but it all still looks like it's going to be really fun.
Sorry, I was just watching the trailer.
Was I giving a commentary over it as you were watching it? Yeah. Is that what it felt like?
They're really going for that fluorescent pink, bright, blue colors.
It's definitely going to be a colorful movie.
Yeah. I just hope that they make a comedy.
I think that's definitely what they're going for. Yeah.
You don't have to be serious about it. Just make a comedy. But do it better than Suicide Squad did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's definitely what they're going for in this movie. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I even like the last bit of dialogue where we're seeing the hyenas. I said that when we're talking about the first trailer, the hyenas in live action is going to be cool. Though they're apparently not going to be named Bud and Lou. It looks like they're just one. But how Harley goes, she named him Wayne after that hunky Bruce guy, I think is what she said in the trailer. Not knowing she's naming it after Batman.
Right.
So, yeah, it'll be here before you know it.
Oh, no. I gotta close this.
What happened?
I just saw one of those Star Wars sucks now videos.
The worst thing you can do is type Star Wars into the search engine on YouTube. And see what it brings up. And even worse when you look at the comments. So you just gotta.
Sometimes I have no control over it. I just type youtube.com and there's like 5 videos about why Star Wars sucks now.
Yeah, why it's ruined and how it's a failure.
Rey is not a Jedi.
These people trying to get their, I don't even want to say 5 minutes of fame. They're just trying to get attention because it's thinking talking about Star Wars in a negative way would bring that to them. But got to show it's the opposite by ignoring them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know why we can't enjoy things.
I know. Even if you do have some issues with it, you could still enjoy it. It's not doesn't have to be love or hate it.
Yeah, it's just like I criticized the Rise of Skywalker, but I still enjoyed it. I don't understand.
And it's not that hard.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll take us into our comic book reviews. And this one's going to be me playing some catch up because over the course of the break, the final issue of Tom King's Batman run came out, and the final issue of Doomsday Clock came out. Yes, after 2 years, Doomsday Clock is done. So we'll go ahead and get into those. And as always, going to go into spoilers in these comic book reviews. So if you haven't read them yet, even though they've been out for almost a month now, you probably did read them. But just in case you hadn't, I'll be going into spoilers on these comic book reviews. So, and Dane, as always, what do you think our rating scale should be?
I got the perfect one.
Nice.
I'm just trying to think of the wording.
That is the hardest part.
Yeah. How many Star Wars sucks videos you have no control over, but you just see?
Or that you have to try to avoid something to that effect. All right. I think that'll work.
Yeah.
All right. So Batman 85. This is concluding Tom King's run. And I've made it no secret that I haven't been the biggest fan of the City of Bane story arc and just how inconsistent Tom King's run overall has been since the very first issue and since Rebirth started. So I was curious to see how it was all going to wrap up and how I would enjoy this final issue. And overall, I think he succeeds in wrapping up the story he wanted to tell in a nice way. And it starts off, it pretty much goes back and forth between the final fight between Thomas Wayne and Batman and Catwoman in Wayne Manor. But then it jumps to points after that battle is concluded, and you're seeing Bruce and Catwoman together. You're seeing Bruce taking care of certain things he has to, like with Gotham Girl, and then Bruce just going into Porky's bar. Yes, Porky Pig, the human version of Porky Pig, and which I will reiterate, one of Tom King's best issues, the Batman and Elmer Fudd comic. That might be his best issue that he's written for Batman. So I'm glad he's bringing that in here too. He goes into the bar watching a football game. He goes in because he tells one of the guys at the bar who's watching it, I was hearing it on the radio and the Gotham Knights might be making a comeback, so I had to stop and go and see it at this bar. And the person says, don't get your hopes up. Don't blow it. They get your hopes up, and then, they let you down in the end. So these three sequences play out over the course of Batman and Catwoman fighting Thomas Wayne. And the scene with Gotham Girl, he has an antidote that allows her to keep her powers, but won't kill her, because that was a reveal in the first story arc where Gotham Girl would use her powers. The more she uses it, the more it would eventually end up killing her. So Batman figured out a way to stop that. And then, of course, more of the romantic stuff with him and Catwoman, which Tom King has been known for probably mostly throughout his run. Them debating about getting married for real this time, but then come to the realization they don't really need to. They are Batman and Catwoman. They don't do things legally anyway. So as long as they know that they love each other and they'll always be there for each other, in their mind, they'll be married, even though it won't, officially be.
Hey, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we forgot to mention is Joaquin Phoenix won a Golden Globe for
Yes,
Joker.
he did.
Yeah.
And I hope that means an Oscar win in the future. Because the one thing I really want to say is that the character of Joker brought home 2 Oscar-winning performances. I want that to happen so bad.
Right.
And actually, I just got it on a Blu-ray this week and planning to watch it tonight or tomorrow. So I'm anxious to see it again. So I'll be looking forward to watching that again. Have you seen it more than once since the theater?
Yeah, I got the digital download.
Okay, which was 3 weeks ago.
When Joker goes to the Murray Walker show,
mm-hmm.
That's the creepiest scene in that movie.
I just remember being on the edge of my seat, wondering what he's going to do. He's going to do something bad, but you just don't know what.
Yeah.
So yeah, congrats to Joaquin Phoenix on that. And hopefully, like I said, that leads to an Oscar nomination and an Oscar win.
Was was Joker nominated for best, I don't know, picture or whatever, best drama or
Yeah, it was nominated for best drama movie for the Golden Globes,
oh,
and I believe
but
Todd
won that?
Phillips was for director.
Oh, wonder who won those over.
I think the movie 1917 won best movie. I'm not
Oh,
sure who won best director.
let's
Or it
see.
might have been the director for 1917. So that looks really good too. I wanted to see that also. But yeah, back to the comic review, which Joker will show up at the end to tie
Yeah.
it all in. But so yeah,
Okay,
we,
wait. Before you get into it, yeah, best motion picture drama. Joker was nominated. Um, yeah, Joaquin Phoenix won. Best actor. I'm just trying to look for best director before.
you would think it'd be on the top of the list that they have there for of the list of winners.
Yeah, they don't have it here.
How can they not have that? It's one of the biggest awards of the
Oh,
night.
sorry, I didn't hit next.
Oh, it's one of those pages.
Yeah, Laura Dern won.
Yeah, she won Best Supporting for Marriage Story, I believe.
Yeah, with Adam Driver, right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
nominated too for Best Actor.
Best motion picture was 1917. Screenplay. And where is director?
Might be quicker just to type in who won Best Director for the Golden Globe 2019.
Yeah.
And yes, it was Sam Mendes for 1917.
Oh, Sam Mendes.
Yep.
Oh, I gotta see that.
Yeah, the trailers for it look really good. It's supposed to be one of those single take or single shot
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
So it's getting really good reviews too. So that's definitely one to put on your list. It feels
Now,
weird when to see a movie when there's a Star Wars movie out in the theater. It almost feels like I'm cheating on it, or it's like I should be seeing Star Wars again, not another movie while it's still in the theater.
how much did it cost to go to the movies, Tim?
It's like $12 now for a regular showing, about 10 for a matinee or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so 12 times 4. You spent almost $50, Tim.
I should give it more
I,
while I can while it's in the theater.
I can't believe movies are that cheap for you, Tim.
And I am thinking I can't believe they're that expensive, but I guess I should be thankful.
You know how much I paid to go to see The Rise of Skywalker and Joker?
Now, did you see it in a normal screen, not IMAX or 3D or anything?
Yeah, regular.
Okay,
Regular.
I'll say $15.
17.50.
Wow. I could definitely
12.
understand if you can only see a movie once.
Yeah. 12 is the matinee.
Wow. Man, it's going to be at 20 before you know it.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's why like okay, Black Adam comes out. Okay, I'm not gonna see that in the
Definitely,
theater,
yeah, definitely
right?
have to pick and choose, I would think, for that amount. Wow.
Yeah. At least if I buy it digitally, I own it, right, for
Yeah.
$20. So
You can see it more than once whenever you want.
yeah,
I could definitely understand where you have to pick and choose, Dave.
17.50 for a movie.
Quite expensive.
Yeah, yeah. So picking and choosing, Tim. So
Yep.
am I gonna see? I don't know. New Mutants or whatever. That's not a movie, right? That's a TV show.
No, it's a movie.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I gonna see New Mutants, Tim? Probably not.
Yeah, that's not a surprise. Even if it probably wasn't 1750, I'd probably say it's not a surprise.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. So, yeah, one other sequence that goes from their fight with Thomas Wayne is to actually see Batman visit Thomas Wayne in Arkham Asylum. His mask, he has his face is covered with a mask and a straitjacket. Batman just they have a great conversation. It's mainly just Batman talking, but how they're the only ones who, talk to their dead loved ones. As Bruce says, he talks to his parents, asking them, are you proud of me? And I listen. He says people who haven't lost anyone doesn't realize that, but we know that, and we know we have to listen and what it takes to listen to that, and just understand that you're only going to get silence. But that's what it takes sometimes for you to move on, and for in Batman's case to carry on with his vow that he made to his parents there. So this is a nice moment between Batman, even though Thomas Wayne isn't, this version of Thomas Wayne isn't his real father, but telling him that. And of course, they'd end up defeating Thomas Wayne in their fight. Thomas Wayne does get the better of Bruce at one point, holding a gun to his head, thinking, he destroyed a universe, everything he's done, he's tried to do for Bruce, and yet he still doesn't see what he tried to do to give him a happy life instead of Batman. So I do like that is the core of what Thomas Wayne is trying to do ever since he was reintroduced in the Button story, to make sure Bruce has that happy life, even if he had to try to give it to him in the worst ways possible of breaking him and beating him down. And this is the point where I think Tom King tries to establish a new status quo for Batman here, and just how he's going to go about things, saying he's going to choose to be happy, to be with Catwoman, to have a family, and yes, still choose to be Batman. And that's kind of what we saw in those other elements, where we saw Batman with Gotham Girl, Batman and Catwoman being Batman, but yet still showing that he can be happy and have a happy life too. But Thomas Wayne still doesn't believe he can do that. He just goes, when are you going to listen to your father? And this is a great moment here where Batman tells him, after everything you did, there's one thing I want you to know and to understand. He just punches him in the face and says, you are not my father, which to me is just a great conclusion to that Batman and Thomas Wayne, this version of Thomas Wayne's story. But we do see what happens to Thomas Wayne. He's in Arkham. He's laying in his bed, and Bane comes. And Bane obviously didn't die after getting shot in the head. He just goes, yes, Bane, I'm done. And then Bane lifts him up and breaks Thomas Wayne's back, snaps him just like he did Batman in Nightfall, apparently killing him. But of course, we thought he was dead before, so we don't know how long this is going to last. But right now, I think this is the end for the Thomas Wayne version of Batman from Flashpoint. And so that's pretty much where the issue ends. It goes back to that bar with Batman, or with Bruce, watching that football game, thinking the Gotham Knights are going to pull out a win. And they do, despite that not the bartender, but the other person at the bar telling Bruce not to get his hopes up. Selena Kyle comes in, and they go off to do their thing, I guess, go out on a date or whatever, patrolling as Batman and Catwoman. We don't know. But the Gotham Knights do win that game. That's showing, I think, that as long as you have hope, faith, whatever you want to call it, you can overcome when they look the most bleak. So then there's an epilogue with the Joker. There's these two gangster or henchmen of the Joker with these clown masks, saying that Joker knows the identity of Batman, but he hasn't said anything. And they're pointing out how the new thing in the Superman comics, that Superman revealed himself to be Clark Kent, so his identity is known. And they're thinking why Joker is sitting on the secret of knowing Batman's identity. And then Joker says, after you do that, there's nothing left to do. You can't put the whoopee back in the cushion. You can't wind up the Jack in the Box if you let that secret out. And he just brutally bashes the head of this henchman into this, like these chains that they were working on here. But then after he kills them, he just realizes, you know what? That could be a lot of fun to do. So they're teasing a Joker story, maybe something having to do revealing Bruce's identity. I'm not sure. The just teases that the end is coming in 2020. So this is where this Tom King's 85-issue run of Batman ends. Again, a lot of hit and miss over the course of his run. And I wasn't a fan of the City of Bane story arc, but overall, I thought this issue wrapped up things as well as it could for his story. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 out of 5 Star Wars YouTube videos that are awful that I have to try to avoid. But kind of like, I guess, how you felt with the Rise of Skywalker and Game of Thrones, how it's an ending, accepting it for what it is, even though wasn't a huge fan of everything that went down in it. So, yeah, I'll get to this later, but one thing, I know Batman 86 came out and James Tynion is taking over. And one review I read of it was over on IGN, because I haven't had a chance to read it. And they were saying how the way Tom King left things for Batman, being someone who's going to have a happy life, be more optimistic, but yet still be Batman, and how this was going to be the new status quo that can change, the course of Batman's history as Tom King was building it up. From that review, it seems like they're just going back to the same old dark and grim Batman, where his new attitude that he was displaying in this issue, and which he wanted to have moving forward, wasn't so much the case in James Tynion's first run of Batman. So again, I haven't read it yet, but that's the one review I read saying how they're not following too closely for what was set up at the end of this issue. So we'll see if this story arc has, I guess, much bearing on future Batman stories besides the death of Alfred, which obviously is an earth-shattering, universe status quo changing moment for Batman. But other than that, we'll see if anything else from Tom King's run sticks. So yeah, it was an enjoyable ending, even though the long 85-issue road to get there was very, very bumpy. But
sounds like a no.
Yeah, well, again, depending, I guess, what you're looking for in it.
Yeah.
But Doomsday Clock number 12, well, this is a big one. And probably can't go into everything that transpires here, but I will say just right off the bat, Jeff Johns did nail the ending for this story. And actually, Dane, I am kind of surprised of some of the similarities that this ending had with the Watchmen TV show, and mainly in regards to Dr. Manhattan. And part of me is wondering...
He dies?
Yeah, let's get to the chase. He dies. But again, this is how both of these stories were leading to the end of Dr. Manhattan and what that means for other Watchmen characters and just, in this case, other characters in the DCU. But what I just like how different they are, too. One's very comic booky, obviously, with Doomsday Clock. When you're mixing in with DC Universe characters like Batman and Superman, it's kind of how more real-world-based the Watchmen TV series were. But yet, both of them work in their own way, and I just really, really enjoyed them both. And what I liked about this issue, it was pretty much a love letter to Superman, and just what a great and important character he is for just not in the DC universe, but just comic book superheroes in general, and just for us fans of these characters and these type of stories. I just think it's brilliant how Jeff Johns traces it all back and points it to Superman, which is true because he is the first modern superhero that we've gotten and started this whole superhero genre in comic books, which led to films and TV shows and all that. It all comes back to Superman. And I think this issue is a tribute to that, because the big thing at the end of the last issue, Superman and Dr. Manhattan came face to face, and the whole thrust of the story is that Dr. Manhattan can't see past this one point in time where he confronts Superman. And then after that, it's all nothing but blackness and darkness. You can't see what happens after that. So it's all leading to this moment, and we're just wondering how it's going to play out. So Superman has to battle with all these superpowered heroes and villains trying to take him down after that event in Russia, which they want to bring Superman to justice to, even though he was framed for it. But he's fighting against all these superpowered beings, and Dr. Manhattan is just watching, observing everything, seeing what Superman is going to do. And there's one moment that really stops and gets Dr. Manhattan's attention, is when this car flies out, going to hit this mother and her daughter, or her son, and Superman stops what he's doing to fight these enemies and just catches it. And Superman just going, "Why aren't you helping these people?" And Dr. Manhattan says, "I can't help you. Like, I've already seen what's going to happen." And Superman says, "I can't do this alone." And this is where they have that confrontation where Dr. Manhattan, the last thing Dr. Manhattan sees is Superman with his eyes flaming red, looks like about to fire his laser beams, and it's going to throw a punch right at him. That was always teased throughout the course of the several Doomsday Clock issues, and now we're seeing how this event's going to unfold. And it turns out, as Dr. Manhattan just closes his eyes and is going to accept whatever is going to happen, because it's either going to be Superman's going to destroy him or Dr. Manhattan's going to end everything. And instead of Superman punching Dr. Manhattan, he actually saves him from one of these powered beings from attacking him. He comes from behind of Dr. Manhattan. Superman just comes in and punches him right in the face, and Dr. Manhattan is surprised by this. He just asks Superman, why did you defend me? This isn't what is supposed to happen. And so Superman tells Dr. Manhattan, with this darkness that you keep seeing, maybe it's not the end of everything, but maybe it's everything you have to do to save the world. And that's what really triggers into Dr. Manhattan, of knowing just what an inspiration and type of person Superman is after following him and changing events throughout the course of the DC history. Dr. Manhattan just says, "I finally understand." And these brilliant panel pages layouts as we see images of these different characters with this blue light shining on them, and then it focuses on Superman. You just see the pages getting darker and darker until it's full black. And then there's just 2 full pages, one splash page of just black, and then the 9-panel layout of all just black and emptiness. And then you just see the formation, all of this explosion happening and this rocket coming down, and the dialogue from Dr. Manhattan saying it all begins with a child. And we just see these different timelines and universes of the Superman rocket ship and the Superman story taking place, of Kal-El falling to Earth. Again, to show this different time period. You got the prehistoric, the Ice Age, the modern ages, this how no matter the universe, the timeline, everything revolves around Superman. And he's just that important to this. It's now called the metaverse, as Dr. Manhattan named it, or AKA the DC universe. No matter which alternate universe, what multiverse, it all centers around Superman. And Dr. Manhattan realizes that, how important he is. And this is where everything that began in that Rebirth issue, it starts to be done away with, because we knew someone was affecting the timeline and certain things were coming back. And now we see Dr. Manhattan fixing the different changes to bring back those elements that were lost in the New 52. And one big thing was the death of Clark's parents, Jonathan and Martha. How that was always an aspect of the New 52 I didn't really like. And we learned that it was from the interference of Dr. Manhattan, but now he's going to fix that over the course of different little things, because he moved the Green Lantern from Alan Scott getting it and Alan Scott dying without becoming a Green Lantern. There was no Justice Society of America, no first superhero group to inspire the Kents, because when we get a new conversation between Jonathan and Clark, as he's telling Clark, if you're ready to get out there and show everyone who you are, you can do it. This world is ready. Where previously in the New 52, I believe it was where he's saying, the world isn't ready to see someone like you, Clark. But because the Justice Society exists now and people are aware of superheroes, this inspires Jonathan Kent, but also Clark, to save them from this car accident that they were in that killed them in the New 52. We see Clark as Superboy now, which again leads to the Legion of Superheroes coming back into existence, because they're connected and play an important part in history, Superboy and the Legion. So all this elements from DC's history that was lost in the New 52 is officially coming back, thanks to Dr. Manhattan putting things in place. And going back to the present time where Superman's fighting all these superpowered beings to try to bring him in, these lost characters, the Justice Society of America, the Legion of Superheroes, they're now back in the timeline. Superman's remembering them now, and they all show up to help him in this fight, which is just a really cool splash page of seeing all these characters back again. My one nitpick of this issue is that it starts getting a little convoluted with the timelines, as far as Dr. Manhattan explaining all these new Earths and universes that are existing now, saying Earth 2 is born again, and after the Flashpoint, Earth 52 is still out there in the Rebirth universe. So all these retcons and crisis and resets that DC has done, Dr. Manhattan is saying that somewhere out there, at least what I got out of that, there still exists, because there's always a Superman there to represent it and is the focal point of those universes, and they're still out there in some way, shape, or form, which is kind of saying no matter what version of the DC universe you like, it's that version that still exists for you out there. Which again, it can get confusing if you're thinking about it, but it didn't do anything to help condense and make it more streamlined and easy to follow, I will say. And then he starts teasing. I don't know if any of these stories are going to happen, but as Dr. Manhattan starts looking into the future, he sees another crisis like no other in 2025. Pretty much goes up 100 years, like keeps issuing these years of certain events that play out. One of them was kind of cool and kind of fun, was that he said in 2030, the Secret Crisis begins, where Superman teams up with Thor himself and a green behemoth stronger than even Doomsday, who dies protecting Superman, which obviously is trying to reference the Hulk, I think. I mean, if we can get another DC Marvel crossover, that would be cool to see. Maybe it's coming in 2030. I don't know. But all this stuff he starts teasing again. I don't know if all that's going to happen, but just showing again the importance of Superman playing a pivotal role in all these different timelines and universes and crisis that may show up. So this is what inspires Dr. Manhattan to see beyond just that darkness that he couldn't see past. And now he knows what he has to do for his own world. And he gathers up Adrian Veidt. He gathers up Reggie, the new Watchman, or the new Rorschach, I should say, the comedian who was with Marionette and Mime. He brings them all together in one place, and he's going to take them back to their universes. And Lex actually sends the comedian back on his own with his devices that he has, to the point where he dies in the original Watchmen comic story. So that's been set back into place where nothing's changed on that end. The comedian still dies and sets off the chain of events that we see in Watchmen. And then also it's revealed that Adrian Veidt, the genius that he claims to be, is that this was his plan all along. He knew he couldn't convince John to save his world. John would need to be convinced and inspired by Superman of this world to do what is needed to be done in the Watchmen universe. But before he could take too much credit, he gets shot right in the chest by the comedian. And then Reggie, or AKA Rorschach now, he was played by Adrian Veidt at the beginning, and he wants some type of revenge, but he's not going to kill him for it. He's going to, again, so kind of similar to how the TV show played out. He just says, you're going to pay for your crimes by rotting in prison. So he gets arrested in this story as well, but just not as casually as it played out and getting knocked out in the back of the head in the TV show. Had a little more drama to it, I should say, than it did in the TV show. And he gets locked up in his own compound. So it's not just a normal jail cell that he's in, but his home is going to be his prison, so to speak. So that's where the Watchmen characters end up. And then the big story of the big turning point to where it ends with Dr. Manhattan is with Mime and Marionette. He let them live because he knew their child played an important part in, making Laurie and Dan happy. Also Silk Spectre and Night Owl. So he knew that child was going to bring them happiness, but it's like a void or something he couldn't see with the child. But he realizes the reason for that is because he is the reason. He actually takes that child when he is born and raises it for a bit. Takes him to Mars. He shows him just the galaxy, teaches him things, just raising him the best he can. And then similar to the TV show, he doesn't transfer his powers to an egg, but he transfers his power to this little boy and just starts restoring the desolated world that the Watchmen universe is in after the nuclear destruction that happened in the first issue. Dr. Manhattan, every step he takes is bringing new life, and he's going to transfer that power to this child. And what I love about it is that it's all inspired from Superman. He gave Dr. Manhattan this new perspective on life that he couldn't have before. And just seeing Superman in action, just seeing how important he is what inspires him to raise this child, to pass on his power to someone who can have a better existence than he did with his power, a better upbringing. He knew Clark had and what is needed to be a good hero. So this little boy knocks on the doorstep of Laurie and Dan, and he just introduces himself saying, he says, but he has a friend who is, I'm just going to actually read it because I'm trying to remember exactly what he says, but he goes, I'm sorry to bother you, but a friend from both your mom and dad brought me here. He said they'll know what to do. And this little girl who introduces herself as Sally, and this little boy goes, with the Dr. Manhattan logo on his forehead, goes, John calls me Clark. And that is the last page of the story. Yes, I just love how it all came together with Dr. Manhattan being inspired by Superman to save his world, pass on his powers, and to this boy who not only he knew would bring happiness to his former friends, but would be raised in the loving way that Clark was, and to do better with the powers that I don't think he even could, because of not being like Superman, obviously having a totally different origin and upbringing than Superman had, but knowing what that good can do for someone with that type of upbringing and that type of power it can do for a universe. So again, it was such a cool love letter to how the importance of Superman is into comics and for just superheroes in general. So I really loved how Jeff Johns incorporated the two universes together. It was a tall task, but I thought he did a great job and brought it all home in this issue. And again, he kept saying how Superman versus Dr. Manhattan isn't going to be this big old fist fight and a display of who's more powerful. It was a fight of ideals and ideologies is what these characters represent. One of hopefulness and one not of hopefulness. And obviously who sees things just as a matter of happening, neither hopeful or bleak, just sees things as they play out, which it turns him in, I think, to a bleak character and just an opposite of Superman. So the way they were able to have this battle without actually fighting, and I would say Superman coming out victorious, able to inspire Dr. Manhattan, which is such a cool thing to see play out. So yeah, it might have took 2 years to get here, but it was definitely worth the wait. I think Jeff Johns did an awesome job with this story. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 out of 5 negative Star Wars YouTube videos that I have to try to avoid. I love this issue. And again, it was just so cool getting 2 vastly different, unique sequels to the original Watchmen story, but yet somehow having similarities to how they treated Dr. Manhattan and how they wrapped up his story. So yeah, great stuff all the way around. Now, before I end the whole comic book review section, I did want to mention that as of this episode, gonna be doing something a little different where moving forward, the comic book reviews are going to be going on a little bit of a hiatus. As I said, I haven't even read the latest issue of Batman yet. And unfortunately, it's kind of getting harder for me to keep up with the latest issues of getting my comics and affording to get all the comics. I really have to start picking and choosing. And just if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm just not really too excited about the direction the DC comic stories are going. As I mentioned, with Doomsday Clock, it kind of left me thinking of being excited about what could be coming. But from what I've seen, what's down the pipeline from DC, it doesn't seem like they're going to follow too much in line with what happens after Doomsday Clock. And again, this is just rumors, but there's big talk about DC kind of doing another revamp or new status quo change where a lot of the main superheroes are going to have different characters taking on those identities, like a new Superman, a new Batman, and just shaking things up again. And I'm not in the mood to be getting those type of stories again. And so I figured with Tom King's run now over, Doomsday Clock is now finished, this might be a good time for me to take a step back for a bit. And I don't want to say the comic reviews are going to be gone for good, but like I said, they're going to be on a bit of a hiatus and a little more infrequent, where I'm thinking once a big major arc wraps up for Batman or a new major DC story, we can go ahead and review the whole story arc instead of issue by issue. And maybe once they start getting on the DC Universe app, which is a great feature that makes this a little easier for me to do as well and to catch up on certain things, that's when I can go back and read those stories. But if there's like something that's this big game changer event and something that's getting critical acclaim and just loved by everyone, I'll probably jump back in and start reading it. But as of right now, I just don't have that same passion and drive to continue on with a lot of these stories. I'm just not in the position to keep buying comics that I don't feel that way about. I really have to make sure I'm enjoying what I'm reading. So I'm just going to take a step back for that. So comic book reviews are going to be going on a little break. So yeah, that's going to be a different change for our show in 2020, but we'll definitely still be keeping up with big comic news, or again, talking about big comic stories as they happen and once I get a chance to read them. So, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. This will probably be the last comic book review section for a little bit anyway, and wanted to make sure I wrapped it up with the end of some big comic book stories with Tom King's Batman run and Doomsday Clock. So wanted to make sure I at least got those finished. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a change, but there'll definitely still be stuff to talk about. So with that, that'll be in for the comic book reviews and the end of this episode. So as always, Dane, I will throw it to you for the outro.
Okay, just go to the BatmanUniverse.net, Facebook.com/BatmanUniverse. Twitter handle is @BatmanUniverse. Tim's Twitter handle is @TimG311. And my Twitter handle is @DaneSaysBanana. Rate and reviews on iTunes, and you can email the show at batfanswithoutpants@gmail.com. So with that, like we say at the end of every single episode, Tim,
we love each and every one of you with all of our Palpatine change the Skywalker name hearts.
Oh, that's a good one. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody.
Scarecrows frightened of a clown that's laughing, boys. I am a Batman.